Hey y'all, how's it going? How are y'all today? It's a little earlier than I'm normally streaming, but that's cool. If you can hear me, please give me your favorite emoji. How are you feeling today? I open up chat so we can discuss things. So, like I said, if you can hear me, please type it in there. Awesome, thank you. Always like to make sure that my equipment's working. So you are here because you're going to take the makeup exam for APES tomorrow. I'm in your time zone. Do you have that ready? How to change your profile picture? You have to do that. Oh, let's see. I've done it on mine personally, but let's see if I can give 1 second. Let's see. When you log in next time, you're just going to be able to, I think you have to go to your settings. You can probably do it now. I don't know, but you should be able to do that on your settings. Okay, so like I said, you're all here to review a little bit. How many of y'all were here for the long session? Why is there something waving in my... Okay. How many of y'all were here for the long session, the 5-hour session a couple weeks ago? Hello? Y'all can type. Come on. You're there. Thank you. Awesome. For those of you that were not there, you still are able to go back and you can look at it. You can zoom ahead, scoot back, whatever you need to do. The first 2 hours are content, and the last 2 or 2.5 or whatever are talking about FRQ stuff. So I'm doing more FRQ things today. I try to change it up so that it was not the same as what we talked about in the long session. I want to make this brand new material. So I'm actually have like FRQ practice. And since there's a small handful of us tonight, or this afternoon, you guys are able to, and please, I really want you to, I want you to converse. I want you to type in your answers in the little chat window over there so that we can talk about, if you would get credit or not credit, or how to make what you're saying a little bit better, right? I have been an AP reader for a number of years, and almost kind of regretting that I agreed to do it this year because according to my little Facebook group that I belong to for APES teachers, we've counted 35 different variations on the questions. What does that mean to you? That means, one, you're going to be randomly assigned a question, which is good, okay? Hopefully it's a question that you know lots of stuff about. So we're should hopefully be good on that, okay? Regardless, I'm going to hopefully help you narrow down just to get a couple of points here and there. Okay, so let me switch my screens here. All right, there we go. So like I said, we're here for the APES makeup exam. Talk a little bit more about FRQs. We're going to make sure that you have just enough information to just be bombastically awesome at this. There we go. So once again, I do want to say thank y'all for being here at Fiveable. We really do appreciate y'all, especially now. It is super crazy. What was the last couple of things that I said? I said that here I'm just going to make sure that I can get you guys a few more points, hopefully. There's lots of different questions out there. I am legally not allowed to discuss any of those questions. You may have seen them on Reddit or somewhere else. I cannot talk about those questions. They are technically under lock and key. So until College Board has officially released them, I'm not allowed to say anything about them. But what I can do is I can pull, what I've done is I pulled actually some FRQs from the past that we can go over. Maybe your teachers have done them, maybe they haven't. So that hopefully I can show you what's the best way to get some points out of this, okay? So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go over, again, first off, the power words, what they mean. Again, exactly what we're looking for with the experimental design, because a lot of people are still really antsy about that part. And then I've got 5 different little FRQs, not the whole FRQ, just little portions of it that we can go through together so that hopefully we can get as many points as possible. All right. So are y'all ready? Everybody ready? Got my coffee cup. I'll take for assurance that you are ready. Okay. Again, I really want you all to participate today. It'll be a lot more fun. Okay, here we go. At least a lot more fun for me. So let's look at some of the power words again, just a quick little refresher. When we're talking about these power words, when you see something like identify, you're simply just stating something like that color is red and stuff like that. Oh, really? Super, super awesome. Thank you, Harper. Harper, do you want to say anything other than like what the questions about any words of encouragement? Anything that helped you? Oh. All right. So, like I said, identify is basically just simply stating something. Most times it'll either be in a picture or a graph, or it'll be related to something similar to those items. These are very, very low points. You're usually looking at maybe just 1 point. So I've put a few examples of that in our presentation today. Hey, by the way, Harper, hopefully high scores for you, okay? You guys should be getting your scores in mid-July, I believe it is. So that's pretty cool. All right, so if you're asked to describe, you are identifying with details. So basically, you're pointing at it and giving a little bit of description. And something I didn't add last time, and I'm adding here, be objective. Don't be subjective. All right, so if you don't recognize those terms, we can say that this color here is blue, okay? But you can't say it's pretty or it's comfortable or anything like that. Again, we wouldn't use that for this, but you need to be objective. You have to say things that are less likely to cause argument when you are describing something, okay? That's very important because something, you may like something, but somebody else does not. And that right there could or could not lose you a point. So try to always be objective when you're describing things. Man, we're looking for facts here, okay? I just noticed that my little emoji looks like his eyes are going outwards. That's just kind of creepy right there. All right, so right here, explain. Basically, this is a step-by-step process, okay? All right, so if you didn't see Harper's words here, thank you, Harper, for that. She says it seems overwhelming at first, but trust the process. Trust yourself, okay? There are many, many parts, and some people have more than others. Yeah, which is very true. We've seen A through L, I think, on some of them, okay? But the test is designed that way. Yes, most definitely. There's supposed to be more on this test than what you're supposed to be comfortable answering within the time period. Okay. Oh yeah, and here's the most important part. I'd like that. Thank you for adding that, Harper. Make sure to submit at the 5 minutes. Okay. Really don't want to mess up your chances of turning in your thing if your computer or phone or whatever just glitches. You definitely want to have time to attempt to do it again. So like she says, you want to try to make sure that you get it submitted at that 5 minutes mark. Okay. Alrighty, let's see what Michael says. Would an example be that a foot just stinks? Not what it smells like. Actually, saying something stinks itself would probably be more subjective. You could say that there is an odor, that there is a smell associated with the foot. You would probably get away with stinks, but again, just being a little bit more subjective is not always a good thing. You want to be a little bit more objective. Again, that there is a scent. Now, if it asks what type of scent, then go into a little bit more detail with that. But if this is where the main points are coming from, you basically just want to nail it on the head on that. Okay. Very rarely have I seen examples of subjective terms that would not cause you to get a point. But again, I'd rather not. I'd rather not risk having that happen to anybody. Drinking my iced coffee. Oh, I love coffee. Okay. So again, when it comes to explaining, This is a step-by-step process. You must talk about the sequence of events, what happens in which order, and definitely put them in order. Don't skip around. Don't say like, well, the volcano explodes. Oh, but first, there's an earthquake or whatever. That is not helpful. Make sure you put it all in order. All right. And then make a claim. Basically, here, making a claim or provide evidence, use the evidence that we have. Thank you. I thought that would lighten up the environment. Yeah, most definitely. Yeah. Although my dog has been eating something rather odorous herself and causes the rest of our family to want to vacate the living room every time she walks into it. So she may have to go to the vet and find out what she's been eating. That is nasty. Cute little dog, though. All right, so let's, like I said, go back to make a claim using the evidence, and that's exactly what they want you to do. They're going to say, state a fact or state an opinion using this evidence. So whatever they give you, it's either in a chart, a graph, a picture, or even an article. They're going to give you pieces of information, and you must make a statement using that inference. Okay, so if we go back to, the foot stinking, in this case, talk about why it stinks. Okay, so, you said the foot stinks. The foot stinks because it was trapped within a sock. Maybe, let's say the data was talking about how this person was on a 3-mile jog. It was hot and sweaty, very high humidity. And so now there's parts of your evidence to discuss why that foot stinks. The foot stinks because the person was able to produce sweat, but it was not able to evaporate off, in which case then it just ran down the legs into their socks. Their feet also were sweating within the shoes because of the 3-mile run. So again, we're using pieces of their information as evidence for our claim, our statements here. Okay, does that make perfect sense to everybody? Are you guys good on these power words so far? Thumbs up, thumbs down, thumbs sideways, yay or nay? Hey, it's 3 o'clock in the afternoon. I need y'all to wake up a little bit. Awesome. Are there words that you should avoid? Yes, I would definitely avoid what I call flowery words. Things like, again, subjective terms. You would avoid things like, yes, vague words, as Harper says. Michael, ecobabble. We call them wordy ones because you just said a whole bunch of crap. You had like diarrhea of the hands and just spouted off a whole bunch of words, and it just came out to be like utter nonsense. Stay away from like, it's bad for the environment. Well, why is it bad? Talk about that. Don't say things like Mother Nature. Again, it's on the screen right there. It's basically you are trying to show that you are worthy of college credit. So we're going to have to think, a little bit upper level. If you go back to the Fiveable website, you're going to see one of our files that I have on there. It talks about like flowery words and such. Even just go back to the 5-hour CRAM, and I started off talking about some of these flowery words. Again, ban it. Don't make it illegal. You cannot say that it hurts everybody. You have to say it would hurt, the majority or some, or even just a percentage, stuff like that, if they give you information on there. Again, excellent right there. It says, if a third grader can say it, then it's way too vague. Exactly. Remember, you're supposed to be writing at a college level. This is a college level class, despite the fact you're high schoolers. Nothing wrong with that. But we're trying to show that we have, the intelligence to get credit in this course. So nail down what you're talking about. Don't beat around the fence. Don't beat around the bush. You just basically have to state your facts. And, stick with them too. All right. Excellent examples on the chat there, y'all. Excellent examples. All right, so let me talk a little bit about the experimental design. Real quick. Remember the independent variable? That is what we call the IV, and you can abbreviate things. Normally what I would do is anytime I type it in first, then I put the abbreviation in parentheses, and then I can use that abbreviation from then on out. Normally that's what I do in like papers that I write. But in this case, IV is independent variable. This is the thing that's being altered. This is the part of the experiment that we're changing in the hopes of having something occur. I think of it as like a cause. If you have a cause and effect. Oh, that is probably one of the best pieces of advice right there, Michael. Be a scientist, not an English teacher. Oh, you know what? I like that. Yeah, I really do. I think I'm going to start using that. I'm going to write that down here in a second. Awesome. Thank you. Your dependent variable. If the independent variable is the cause, dependent variable is the effect. This is what's going to happen. These are, what is it affecting at the time? Oh, yeah, exactly. And when it comes to writing, at least. Although, being an English teacher, make sure you're coherent, too. All right? That goes with, I wouldn't just use like one-word answers, short sentences. You should have enough time to get enough points to get you that great grade, okay? There's very few times that just a simple word or phrase will get you credit. Like the identifies, you can probably get away with just a word or a phrase, okay? But anything from describe on up, you are going to have to be eloquent, okay? State it out practically. Alrighty. So when we have our independent and dependent variable, we also need to have a control group. In this case, this is something that we are going to compare our results to. So in this case, it's whatever we're experimenting on without the actual experiment. So if we're testing like different underarm deodorants, we are going to have a person without any underarm deodorant and compare all the rest of the underarm deodorants to this person. If we're looking at which grass a cow prefers, or we would have like the normal field of grass that they're normally accustomed to, and then we could look at different varieties of grass and see which one's eating more. Okay. Yes, I would most definitely try, as you said, Michael. I would try to write that sentence. You just sound more intelligent, and it really is not taking up much more time. I promise you. You can type rather quickly. And let's see, last but not last. Again, we're using this control group to compare results to. And then there are things like constants. These are factors that are not supposed to change. Okay, these are like if I was using the cow example, use the same species of cow. Make sure it's the same time of year that you're testing your experimental results in. Okay, so I got a question on the screen here. How many reruns or retrials of the experiment should we mention? If you're actually asked something like that, I would do a minimum of 3. That's the bare minimum. Obviously, more is better. So I would go with either, again, the bare minimum being 3, 5, 10, 15, 20. If you happen to have, like if we're talking about different varieties of grass for a cow to eat, then each variety of grass is going to be its own what you call a rerun or a trial. So in this case, again, a minimum of 3. That's just bare minimum science. I doubt they would ask you that, but just in case, do at least 3. If it's just like a one-shot deal, I mean, if it's just like the I'm a little tongue-tied. I haven't had to speak for very much in the last 2 weeks. With the cows, the grass example, you wouldn't have to have them eat that same field of grass numerous times, okay? But each field of different grass would be its own trial. If it's a one shot, then you do it at least 3 times. I would probably go with 5 to 10. It just sounds better. If you say, I'm going to do it like 1,000 times, you're really just wasting a lot of time and effort as a scientist, okay? All righty, so a lot of times these constants can be themselves variables. If it ever asks you to choose another variable, you can change one of those constants and then run the experiment again to see what would happen too, okay? Is there going to be an elaboration point? I really don't know. I've only looked at a couple of the questions, and without going into anything, I have not seen hardly anything. And I've in the past, they have... It just really depends on the question. I don't think there was hardly any elaboration points last year or anything like that. If it asks you to explain or describe, state it, and then describe or give a little evidence, details about it. If it asks you to explain, then go through everything, every little step, just in case. Because in some cases, each step could be a point. So if you miss a step, maybe you miss 1 out of the 3 points. That's perfectly fine. Okay. It does vary on question to question. Okay. And even like subparts of the questions. Okay. So y'all ready to do a little practice? Just like ease into it real quick here. I have this one right here. This is one of the ones from 2018, so 2 years ago. This was the Arctic Food Web question. By the way, high scoring points on this one. I chose it because I want to ease into. I want to just give you a chance to identify. Now, obviously, you'd have to know what food webs and food chains are. So, could you please take a guess? Identify the primary consumer. If you were to take this as the actual test, what would your answer be? Okay, let's do it that way. If you were going to take this test, if this was your question, how would you answer this question? I'll give you guys just a moment. Okay, I got Orca on there. Anybody else want to hazard a guess here? I got Orca, I got Seal. Changed their answer to the plankton. Now on here, we happen to have 2 plankton. We have the diatoms, which are the phytoplankton, and we have the krill, which are the zooplankton. Krill, okay. No, actually, and don't say my bad in this case. I want to make sure you guys understand, because that word is used twice, there could be confusion as to which one you're discussing. And so if you don't state directly, then you would not get a point. In this case, it is krill. Our primary consumer is going to be the krill because they're the first things to eat the producers, right? Okay. So, boom, boom, boom. Here is my second question. Identify the primary producer. Remember, to consume means to eat. So the first person to eat was the krill in this case. Who is the primary producer? Who's making the energy? The diatoms. Yes, the diatoms in this case are making energy. A clue as to why that's happening, you'll see that there's no arrows going into them. And if you do a little epidemiology, basically words, then you can see at the very bottom, I know that it's kind of small on your screen. It says phytoplankton. Phyto is actually a form of the word like for sun. So these are the sun or the solar plankton. They're making the energy. Okay, they're doing the photosynthesis. And actually, so if it happens like that when you guys are taking your test, you can't see something, you should be able to pinch zoom if you have that function on your computer, or was it Control Plus to zoom in on something. All right, cool beans. So next question on here is identify the secondary consumer. Who is the secondary? Yep, photo. Well, photo in this case, phyto is also light. Different forms of the word. So who's the secondary consumer? Who's eating secondary? We have 1 vote for a seal. That is correct. Cod is also on that one. Okay. Do you have to say ring seal, or can you just say seal? You can actually just say seal in this case because there's only 1 seal on there. If there was numerous seals, then I would specifically say them. And you're right. If you look, both the Arctic cod and the ring seal are good. Since it says identify the primary, secondary consumer, if you just said 1, you're perfectly fine. If it asks for name 2 of them, then you'd have to give both in order to get both points. All right. I just wanted to mention something. Okay, so Harper wants to mention something real quick. If you don't think you did well, or you find out that you didn't pass, it is okay. Oh, most definitely, yeah. Like I said in my streams, This test doesn't determine who you are, okay? It just determined what you knew at that point in time under stress. So it's perfectly good. Man, Harper, are you going to be like a motivational coach? Because you're awesome. Harper loved the learning behind the content of the APES course. So many things that I didn't know before, and it helped me become a more informed consumer. Oh, that is wonderful. You should tell your teacher, right? Please, like, just copy that and, email that to your teacher, because, oh my gosh, we love that kind of stuff. We really do. We'd love to know that what we do has an impact on our students. Hopefully a powerful, beneficial impact, okay? Man, Harper is going to be a motivational coach when they grow up. This is absolutely wonderful. Okay. Wouldn't the seal be a tertiary consumer? In this case, it can actually be a secondary or tertiary. Okay. Since you see the arrow coming from the krill, that makes it secondary. Coming from the cod would make it tertiary. So it's perfectly fine. If it asks you to identify an organism that is only a secondary consumer, in which case that would be our Arctic cod. Okay. But since it did not ask that, you could give either one of these answers for secondary. Okay. So always make sure you read what the question is asking. This case, it was not trying to trick you or anything, but College Board does like to try to separate out people who read the question and people who think they're just, think they know what the question's talking about. Okay. Now, round of applause, everybody, for Harper. Appreciate that. Taking time off just to come and talk to us after she's already taken the test. That is wonderful. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I have a second portion of this question here I want you guys to try. Okay. So here's the thing. I made up this portion of the question. This was not a part of it originally. Describe the effects of the krill population due to the loss of the polar bears in this food web. So looking at this specific food web, don't think about anything else, but look at this food web. What happens to the krill population if there is a loss of polar bear population? Now, again, type in your answer. Try to be quick about it. Think of it as the actual test. You have to, answer rather quickly in order to get your stuff. No, I totally understand. I wonder if you're able to change an overlay on your screen. That would be neat. Or change the color of your monitor if you're using a laptop or a Chromebook. I know I have a hard time reading sometimes. I don't have dyslexia. Don't get me wrong. That's not one of my problems. I have other ones. All right, decrease significantly is one of the answers. Now remember, I would put that, you don't have to restate the question, but if this was a test, make sure that you talk about, or in this case, it talks about the krill population. So yeah, you could say decreases significantly. We don't like short little answers, but man, if you can do it, it works. All right. Decrease in krill population. Oh, okay. So here's the thing. I was kind of worried about this when I was thinking about it. This question can kind of go two ways. Since it says describe the effects, we know there will be a decrease. Sometimes this is where that elaboration point can come in. And if it was to say explain, I would definitely explain why. In this case, it just says describe the effects. So we can legitimately say there was a decrease in the krill population. Okay. If it was to say explain the effects, now I like the other answer we have on the screen. Elena, decrease in krill population because seal and cod populations would increase and would eat more of the krill. I would end on that. Okay. Excellent. Oh, man, you guys are doing great so far. Okay. The seal population will grow rapidly, which will then consume the krill without control of the seal, thus possibly decreasing the size of the population on the krill. And then the phytoplankton eventually. Ooh, yes, it will totally destroy the entire food web, or at least possibility. See, that would be an excellent one for explain. You may, if you have time, I would do that for describe as well, just in case there is an elaboration point, just in case. But only if you have the time. If you were just to say legitimately it decreases in population, then that should get you the credit right there. But I don't know specifically on our test this year. Okay. right, so let me talk about plate tectonics. Okay. Here's another describe. It says, describe what happens when two tectonic plates collide along a subduction zone. So the picture here is not very helpful. All right. So in this case, that picture is kind of a distraction. Doesn't really help you unless you understand what those tiny little dots are. But that's not for this question. It says, what happens to two tectonic plates? Okay. So if you said anything about volcanoes, you would not get credit on this. So do me a favor. Try to answer this question for me, please. I'm sorry about the sound. Somebody's messaging me on Facebook. I bought a lightsaber. I bought a second lightsaber, so I'm kind of happy. And yes, my wife knows about it, so I'm not going to get in trouble too much. All right. Yeah, go say it for macro. Appreciate you being here, Harper. You're awesome. Okay. Good luck on your macro test as well. All right, y'all. What would happen between two tectonic plates with a subduction zone? So we have our two plates coming together. Okay. It says collide, so we know they're coming together, not sliding. Okay. One plate of heavier density will pull under the plate of density of lighter density, thus forming a subduction zone. That is a great one like that. I like the fact that you talked about the plate densities. We could go like just really cheap and easy. One plate's going to go underneath the other. But the fact that you said that one plate has got more density, so therefore it'll go lower than the higher density or the lighter density. That is a beautiful answer right there. Absolutely wonderful. All right. Does anybody else have one here? Nope. I'm not a big math person myself there, but it is the language of science as well. So we kind of need math. And I'm really surprised that there was no math on the test this year. I know they said there wasn't going to be, but really, we kind of need math. All right, but okay, so Julian, here's the thing. You're not going to get points for this because you have to describe that convergent. It already says that they come together, which is that the verb converge, they come together. So now you're going to have to talk about what exactly is a convergent boundary. So in this case, that answer would just be restating the question. Okay. Are we good? And just because you know convergent and the reader, the AP reader knows convergent boundaries and all that, again, describe it. That's what the word means. If it was to say identify, then that answer would be perfectly fine. But in this case, it says describe. So we have to talk a little bit more about that process, okay? All righty. So here's my other question on here. This was also from the 2014 exam. It says, explain how subduction leads to volcanic activity. So in this case, it's when we talked about explains earlier, this is a process. So talk about step by step what's going to happen. Okay. Oh, calculators are pretty. I bought a calculator just to do fractions because I hate fractions. So explain how subduction leads to volcanic activity. So that's going to where we're talking about this convergent zone where the higher density one slides underneath and the lighter density goes up top. So mention those two. But how does it talk about activity, the volcanic activity? Type in your answers, please. As my Bitmoji says, I need answers. Come on, all you happy people. All right, so I don't want too much lag time here. As the two plates come together and one subducts or goes underneath because of its higher density, there's going to be a slight gap, and I can put my fingers up there. There's going to be a slight gap in between the plates, and that right there is a weak spot. Let's see what Elena has. Thank you. The plate that subducts underneath the least dense zone plate melts and rises to the surface as a volcano. That's good right there. Yes. We have the lighter density one pushing upwards, basically allowing a well, I wanted to say a portal. I've been watching too much Rick and Morty. I just started watching it. It allows like a zone where the lava can form up into that volcano or escape. I like the fact that you talked about the melting. It's right there. So that right there would probably get the majority of the points right there, okay? Because you explained there's a step-by-step, the two plates, one subducts, melts, and allows for lava or volcano right there. That's excellent. Beautiful. Alrighty. All right, so I've got a couple more here. And again, if you guys have any questions, please feel free to ask them, okay? I want to try to help you as much as I can. I really do. This was from 2015. I think this is the first year I started reading. This was not my question. So looking at this is population density. It says, describe the relationship. Oh, let's see. First, it pushes up. And go back. We'll look at the question again. First, it pushes up the crust or the ground of the lighter density, and it melts the metals and other minerals and pushes up lava. Okay. Could I overlook? I mean, what does it mean if I can overlook the one above? Michael, your answer works there. Yeah. I think it's those two. I'll go crack my neck. Are y'all able to hear me? Can y'all hear me today? Okay, I just want to make sure. Okay, whew. Yeah, I can. Let's see. Looking one above. I thought I'd looked at Elena's. Is there anything else? We'll play heavier subduction zone. Yeah, we're good on that. Oh, you're just okay. Internet troubles. Yeah, I have internet troubles myself. My son's streaming. We have YouTube TV, so that's streaming. So lots of bandwidth going through my house. But yes, they all look good. In the middle of nowhere. Yeah. Hey, but think of it, less population density. And that's what this question's about right here. Population density. Yes, I did look at yours. Yours looks good. Both of them. Yes. Michael's yours right there. Pushing up the crust of the lighter one, melts the metals of the heavier one, and then that pushes back up to form a volcano. That works as that's a good explanation of volcanic activity. Yeah. It does. All right, so now look at this one right here. Courage the Kelly Dog. Oh, wow, that's the middle of nowhere. Wow, that's an old show, too. All right, so looking at this, population density, it says, describe the relationship between population density and petroleum use. Okay, so you don't have to do any math here, but you do have to pay attention to the graph. So again, it's describe. Don't just identify. We need a little bit of not explanation, but a little bit more of a detail here. So what do you guys notice when you're talking about population density and petroleum use? With less population density, there is less petroleum usage. I'll just make sure I'm reading that right. Oh, good. Thank you, Julian, because that was that's better now. With more population density, the higher density, there's less usage. Okay. You can also go backwards. You can say with less density, there is more petroleum usage. Now, what they could have done is try to turn this from describe into an explain. Explain the relationship. So why would Hong Kong, and I'm just going to ask you, I don't have it on my screen, but why would Hong Kong was having much higher population density? Why would they use less petroleum? Why would they use less petroleum per capita? We're talking about Hong Kong. There's a lot of people in a small little area. Why are they using less gasoline? Think about it. think about it. Same thing with actually, well, I was going to say New York, but they still use lots of gasoline too. So, Hong Kong, super crowded, one of the most populous places in the entire Earth, city-wise, because the population density is so massive. They're not traveling very much, or if they are, they're using mass transit to short little places because there's a lot of people in this very small area. Transportation was not used very much. There's less distance traveled. Excellent, exactly what I was going for. With less population density, the gas usage goes up. Yep. This is due to urban sprawl. So yeah, if we had this as an explain, talk about urban sprawl, the fact that we're spread out, that's the reason why it's less dense. You have to travel more places. Yes, and with it being more dense, they're not traveling very far because everything's in a very close little area. If you look at the difference between New York and Houston, oh yeah, you don't have to travel very far in New York to get stuff. I used to live in Houston. It took me 15 minutes just to get to the store to get my milk, at least the store I like to go to. Awesome. Okay, great. So you guys get the idea between the describe and the explains. Wonderful. Okay. Describes will usually run you about 2 points, and the explains between 2 and 3 points. Excuse me. Too much detail is not a bad thing. Just, again, don't use equal and stick to the point. Just read the question itself. Oh, I do not have any little Bitmojis for this one. Bitmoji doesn't have much to do with dirt. So, all right, so let's look at those questions. This is from 2016. This is the soils question. Okay. You guys read the soils question. I'm going to read the notes over here. Okay. May the folk. Yeah, you do live out there in nowhere. Okay. May the folk of Hong Kong be let to have their freedom back. Yes, and become independent. Hopefully. I just want everybody to be happy right now. The world's a little crazy. The whole planet's a little crazy. I just want everybody to be happy. Everyone get along. Drink a little coffee. And before y'all get upset, it's iced coffee. Okay? Is there a formula thing for the describe? Old English is good. There's not really a formula. There's just lots of different things. Basically, when you talk about describe, it is identify with details. That's the reason why you're going to get a little 2 points. So let me look. In this case, here's my first question. Talking about these soils, identify one cultural practice that can lead to elevated nitrate levels in groundwater. So here's the identify. What up there is or what's similar? What is something agricultural wise that's putting more nitrates into groundwater? Okay. Yeah, I cannot translate that there, Michael. Good luck with that. I'm just writing down that quote from earlier. Okay. Using pesticides. Not necessarily pesticides. You have the right idea, but pesticides are not usually high in nitrogen. Oh, you are English. Okay. There you go. Fertilizer. Okay. So in this case, the use of fertilizers. Oh, that's a translation. Oh. I speak Nielsen, which is most times incoherent according to my wife. So yes, say what's one agricultural practice that can lead to elevated nitrate levels? Use of fertilizers. Now, the pesticides are not usually high in nitrates, but the fertilizers are. Okay. Is also organic fertilizers too. Yeah, organic fertilizers can also have nitrates in them. Okay, the organic fertilizers are mostly going to be manure and such. You can just say fertilizers in this case because it is adding these nutrients. These usually it's going to be nitrogen, potassium, and phosphorus, NPK. All of the fertilizers are basically NPK. The synthetic ones have altered levels of NPKs so that you can specifically, basically tailor-made fertilizers for your yard. Okay. Is it true? Does inorganic or synthetic fertilizers run off easier than organic? Not necessarily. You know what really causes runoff? Using too much of any fertilizer. That's what contributes to this runoff and eutrophication. Okay, using too much of it. If you use just a small amount of synthetics, just what's needed, and it soaks and gets into your soils, then you don't have much of a problem. Same thing with the organics. But the overuse of them, that's what's going to help cause cultural eutrophication. All right. Alrighty, so we got that point. So now here comes the describe. Describe how the practice you talked about, so in this case, fertilizers, has led to elevated groundwater. No, you're not going to have to write out chemical formulas. You're not going to have to write out any chemical formulas. So you're good. Most times you wouldn't have to anyway. Any questions like that in the past, you would just be able to describe, if you're talking about ozone, you can describe the transformation of oxygen and ozones. No, there are no extra points. I know my students just like, hey, can I get extra credit for showing how smart I am? No, College Board doesn't care about that. You're here to show you how smart you are anyway. So there are no extra points for saying, hey, this is the chemical formula for ozone depletion. So describing it or showing it in chemical formula is exactly the same amount of points, so long as they're both done properly. Yeah. Alrighty. So describe there we go. That's what I was looking for the answer. The excess fertilizers end up as runoff. Beautiful water runoff of fertilizers. That's good. Oh, you mean something like maximum amount of points? No. Again, either way, chemical formula or just describing it works both ways. They're both the same amount of points. All right, excellent answer on here. Okay. No elaboration point on the formula. I haven't seen any of those like that yet. Excellent, by the way, on the cause of fertilizers making higher nitrates. Okay, you use the water runoff. Wonderful. Again, you just said runoff. That's perfectly fine. We understand that to be water. All right, there's no reason why you have to specifically say water runoff, although it's not a bad thing. Okay, in this case, so we're good. Would it be helpful in supporting your argument? The formulas itself? No. Not necessarily. No, if you have to, not specifically formulas versus describing it out, it would not. Alrighty, so here's my last one. Oh man, I'm running a little fast today, but that's all right. It is the experimental design. We know this will be on the test, okay? We know that this will be on the test, not this question specifically, because this is the only one College Board has ever released. So let's take a moment. Let's look at this. The active ingredients in many pesticides are chemical compounds that kill organisms, such as insects, molds, weeds, and such like that. Okay. Proponents. Now, remember, if there's ever a word that you don't understand, Google it quickly. You're perfectly fine. You can Google. You're not going to be able to Google the answers, but you can Google parts of the question for understanding what the word means. So proponents claim that the use of the pesticides improves crop yields and thus protects the land and soil from reducing the conversion of forests and wetlands to cropland. Okay, proponents or opponents of pesticides claim that pesticides degrade water and soil quality and that other modern agricultural techniques and practices are responsible for the improved crop yields, blah, 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 blah. All right. The use of fertilizers in order to increase the yield of crops, the nitrates are not taken into the ground and become runoff. This is then absorbed by the aquifers by ways of nearby waters and streams. Make sure that works again. Increase. Yes, Michael, that works. Yep. That'll work. Not necessarily only aquifers. You can just say that that it gets into nearby waters and streams, because most times waters and streams are not feeding into an aquifer. That's just purely groundwater. So if it does talk about groundwater itself, you don't have to say those nearby lakes and streams. You can just say it's being absorbed through the soil and goes into the aquifers. Okay? Oh, you're welcome. I am always afraid of calling students by their name incorrectly. So I do tell my students that by the end of June, I will know every single one of my students' names and how to say it properly. School gets out the end of May, but by the end of June, I'll know all of them. So it's good. All right, let's look at my experimental design here, y'all, and then we'll butcher it. I'm not the smartest person in the world, but I can figure that one out. It's like phonetic. All right, so look right here. Here is my question for you, okay? It says, design a laboratory experiment to determine whether or not a new product X, this pesticide, is toxic to minnows, okay? Which is a very small fish, and they, if you didn't know what a minnow was. For experiment, you must make sure you have all of the following. So this is a fancy way of saying you're going to design an experiment, but you're not going to have to go through all the things, because just look to see what you have to have. First off, what would be your hypothesis? Okay. What is going to be the hypothesis? I don't like them stating that first, because if you look at my next one, okay, where is it? Never mind, let me go back. Let's do the hypothesis. All right, so anytime we're talking about hypothesis, it's always an if-then statement. If I do this, then this will happen, okay? Basically, if I do the IV, then the DV occurs. So what are we looking at here? Okay, what is the thing that we're going to change, and what's the result that we're looking for? So you have to go back. This is going to be in that. This is going to be in that documentation up there. So right now, the question is, what's the hypothesis? Give you guys just a moment. Now, I'm one of the few teachers that still want you to do a if-then statement, okay? Because I like it. And then there are other teachers that want you to do an if-then statement and because. If I do this, then this will happen because. I don't need a because. All right, let's see what we got here, Lena. If I increase the amount of product X pesticide, then there will be an increased amount of minnow mortality. That works. In this case, we're seeing that by altering the pesticide, then the result will be the mortality of our minnows. And I like the fact that you said there will be increased. You didn't just say that we're going to change the mortality of minnows. You stated that there's going to be an increase. That's good. Okay. If pesticide X are used to improve crop yields and are non-toxic, minnows will not die when exposed to water runoff. Okay, so now we're talking about product X. And we're talking about if it's not toxic, then there will be no effect on the minnow populations. Excellent. So again, we're seeing our IV, we're seeing our DV. Independent variable on both of these is your pesticide product X. And your DV is the results of the population of minnows. Okay. If the amount of product X in each tank of the fish, then there will be a higher crude death rate of the minnow population present in each respective tank. That works just as well too. Okay, a little bit more technical with the CDR. Sounds good. Okay, so excellent on that. Question: is Monsanto the evil empire? That's up to you to decide. They've done some good, they've done some bad, so you're gonna have to figure that out for yourself. Are they the evil empire behind product X? I don't know. This question was from 2012, so usually questions are written about 3 to 4 years prior. So what was happening in 2008, 2009? You decide. All right, so we have our hypothesis. So DDT was long before that. DDT's been happening since the 50s into the 70s. All right, so second part of the question here is describe the method that you use to test your hypothesis. Okay. So how are you going to test your pesticide use? This may be a little bit too much to type in the window for us today. So something I would say is, again, have at least 3. Oh, DG could be product X. We have at least 3 setups. Okay, mention that. And in each setup, you would have a different amount of product X, but the tanks or whatever you're using, Michael mentioned tanks, the tanks, let's say that, are the same size, same amount of water, same temperature, same number of minnows to begin with, and they're tested at the same time. These are what we're looking here at the controls. What's good? The constants, not controls. We're looking at the constants. Okay, in one tank, you need to have no chemical product X. Again, that's going to be our control. If they ask you something like this, if you don't have the control, you're probably going to lose a lot of your points. They definitely want to see that. All right, Jillian says, I would put 3 minnows in separate tanks with 2 being exposed to the pesticide and 1 with no pesticide. Okay, that's possible. And in order to make it a little bit better, well, let's see. Active ingredients. Technically, that should work. Okay. Why 2 with the pesticide, 1 without? I would do different amounts of the pesticide. Again, we may not be looking for what we call an LD50, which is lethal dose at 50% of the population. But look at different amounts of pesticides so that we can see if it really is dangerous or not. Oh, those are my dogs going crazy because somebody knocked on the door. Silly doggies. Hey, I'm streaming, dog. Quiet. All right. Oh, good. He's calmed down now. Would pH level of the water be an important constant? If you... Oh, my crazy dog. You can mention that they're all the same pH. If you say that they're all the same type of water, that should work too, including temperature and all that. Maybe good to mention, just in order to take out any possible confusion. Okay. What I wouldn't do is I wouldn't say I would use, salt water for one and then fresh water for another. Okay. Because that's going to add a separate variable into there. All right. Now, what is our control? We've actually already talked about our control over here and identified the dependent variable. So we've already got those. Our control will be the tank without any of the product X, and our dependent variable is something that you guys already had in your hypothesis. A proper hypothesis, again, has the independent and the dependent variables already written into it. Okay. So I only got a few minutes left, BL. Do you have any other questions I can help answer for you about the test tomorrow, or just tips or tricks I can help you with? Because I do have a few minutes I can help you with that. Type them in the little chat window. Listen to my... Oh, hey, my dog stopped barking. That's so nice of her. All right. So I do 3 different amounts of pesticide in 3 tanks and 1 tank without pesticide. Yeah, I think that would be better, Jillian. Yeah, you'd have 3 experimental tanks and then 1 control tank. That would probably make the experimental design better. You'd have better results. And in each tank, again, you're going to talk about, let's say, 25%, 50%, 75% concentration, whatever it may be. Describe just briefly why each one of those 3 tanks is different compared to the control. Okay. Again, they're probably not looking for exact numbers, but it's something that differentiates why you're doing it, which is good. I would get 15 tanks plus a control group, each being 85 by 65, and then increase the amount of product X in each tank, set the control until the amount in the tank equals that of the amount found in retail container. Okay, so far good, I like it. I would then check on the minnows every day for 1 breeding season, and then record the number present in each tank, and then we feed them. That sounds good. Do I recommend any good handout resources? Fiveable's got quite a few of them that you guys can have out there. Any resources for study questions like the format on the test? The only thing I know about the format test is you're going to see anywhere between, almost, whatever A through K is that number. I would go through, if you have a moment, that first question, you got 25 minutes, go through and quickly just get as many points as you can. You don't have to do them in order, okay? Do I have anything handy for the exam itself? There is, let me see. Let me click on this. Resources are here at the bottom of the screen. Let me click on that again. That's the posting the questions there. I don't want to post my questions. Yeah, so at the bottom of the screen, at least it's on mine. At the bottom of the screen, that's not right. Do you all see where it says APES CRAM Hub, ask questions and get resources live? If you click on that, it'll bring you up to our little hub. If you scroll down to where it says quick links, there's the study guide, was not helpful because that's what we have been doing. The FRQ writing guide is what we're kind of been talking about. A little overview, things like that will be helpful to have. I would save like a PDF copy of it to your device, just so that you're not using too much bandwidth going back and forth. If you have two devices, have it on the second one. As for the questions themselves, you're going to see a whole bunch of them. Try to get as many points as you possibly can. When that 5-minute timer hits, I would really start evaluating, do I feel confident in the amount of points I have? Again, you're not expected to answer everything. You just try to get as many points as you can. Okay. Obviously, more points is better. That's what I would do. And then upload your answers as conveniently as possible. Hopefully, you guys have already seen how to do that. Be it, if you're typing your answers or taking photographs, I would highly suggest, if it is possible, please type your answers. We've seen a lot less errors with typing of the answers, cutting and pasting them in there, or PDFs, whatever it may be. I would actually, if I was doing the test, I would type up my answers in like a Google Doc, copy and paste it into the submit window. That's just me, though. Okay, there's fewer errors that occur for me. What have you heard of cheating? Not that hopefully you're not thinking about cheating. All I've heard about cheating so far was what happened before. They've caught a small little group of people that were trying to get a cheating ring going on. There's also been lots of rumors that College Board has been putting out fake websites. So if you copy your question into like a Google search and just copy the answer from there, they're going to know about it. But again, that's just rumor. That's just things I've been hearing around the net. Here's the thing is, if you're not cheating, then you're definitely not going to have to worry about it. Yeah, taking a photo of your answer and then trying to upload could be painful, especially if you're using an iPhone because of the HEIC format that it uses. So that's why I like to tell my students to type it. Okay. I don't know who they've caught or how they were caught or anything like that. That information was not released to anybody. So at least not during the test. Alrighty. So, ladies and gentlemen, I hope you guys do wonderfully well tomorrow. I really do. Okay. Just take a breather. Flip phone. Ooh. Take a breather and just relax. Okay. It's just a test. It doesn't determine who you are. It just determined what you knew at that moment in time. Okay. In this crazy world that we live in. So if you're copying and pasting, don't, oh, really? If you are copying and pasting, don't put the AP ID and initials as the header because you can't copy it with your answers, FYI. Oh, that I did not know. All righty. If you are typing it and stuff like that, you definitely have to, if you're like taking a picture or something like that, it has, you don't have to have your AP ID. It's already associated with you. It's just helpful. One of my students texted me and just in a panic, I forgot to put my AP ID on it. It's like, you're good. Don't worry about it. It's just a backup just in case something happens. So I looked at hers. It was perfectly fine. So ladies and gentlemen, I really do hope you do wonderfully well. I will be reading essays in about 3 weeks. So think for me, pray for me. And y'all will be getting your results in the middle of July. Okay. Michael, I think you're going to be just fine. If it didn't upload, it would have told you. And your teachers have already gotten them. We got all of our students' results back on the 26th. So you can email your teacher or message them somehow and say, hey, would you double check to make sure that it's there? Okay. Can we send our answers to our teacher? Your teacher's already going to get them. Next week or the week after, your teachers are already going to get the makeup exam questions just for teachers to double check. So you could take screenshots and send them to your teacher, but like I said, you just give it a week or two, they're going to already get them. All right. Oh, the IP. Oh, there's a fly on my screen. Yeah, you probably could. Again, so long as you're not posting it anywhere, that's the important thing. You're not supposed to be distributing the questions out. Technically, you're not allowed to do anything with the questions out on the internet or anything like that until they have been released by College Board, and that won't be until July or August. So, alrighty. Now, private conversations between you and the teacher should not be a problem. Alrighty, ladies and gentlemen, I shall end this with y'all today. Hopefully, you guys will come back to Fiveable next year. You know, taking your AP courses. Think about us. Tell your friends. We're a happy, fun-filled group, right? So the teachers can look at your question and answer after you get. Alrighty. So yes, your teachers can look at your questions, and we can pre-score them right now, but we do not have a rubric, so we do not know exactly what they're going to get points for. In fact, the rubric is still being written right now. They write the questions and then do the rubrics later on. It's a difficult process to I don't want to get into right now, but that's how it works. So there is an AP Biology on Fiveable. Yes. Do I do it? No. I teach AP Biology, but I do not do the AP Biology on Fiveable. That's another set of people that are smarter than I am in AP Bio. Yes, your teachers can look at your scores and compare them to your answers. But as an AP reader, we go through a rather rigorous training just to make sure that what you wrote and the points that we give you are valid. So it is possible that a reader has made a mistake, but it's been very rare. But yes, there is that opportunity if you contact your teacher and they read it on the rubric. Again, we won't be able to see that rubric until like July or August. Then there's a possibility that you can get rescored. Okay, your teacher wouldn't do it, but another AP reader would rescore it just to double check. Okay. Oh, thank you for that. I get to do it in my home office, which you guys see right here. It's 5 days of 8-hour days of just me reading the same essay over and over again. So yay. Bad thing is I don't get to see my friends this year, which is a bummer. All right. Hopefully I won't get any letter. If I get a letter, I'll definitely look at it and see. So I'll do that for my students. Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, have a great, wonderful rest of your day. Relax for your test tomorrow. Again, look at the resources we have on Fiveable. Okay. app.fiveable.me. Yes, squirrels. Yeah, my dogs are already doing that. All right. And I appreciate y'all being here and giving up your time with me today. So hopefully y'all will do very well. And I won't see you next year because you won't be in APES anymore. But the other AP streamers on here are absolutely wonderful. So take care. Love you. See you. Bye.